Hey guys, James here, and it's kind of weird making a 25 prediction video when I feel like the season 11 lineup is just going to be 24 and 25 for Death Battle, or at least a good chunk of it. So I feel like most of what I said during that could probably just go into this for my guesses on what we might get next year. But with the knowledge of Death Battle will start early January to late February, or no, what? I said that backwards. Late January to early February. We are going to have roughly one episode every month. February might end up having two. At least, I believe that's how Ben described it, like how 25 will go. And there is the potential that there could be more episodes, but they might just test the waters by doing one a month. And regarding like my order on my predictions here, only like 3 of them are where they're at for a specific reason. And like regarding Kickstarter matchups, I kind of took like 6. The 6 I feel like are most likely. And then like 6 matchups that were not on the Kickstarter, and just kind of like rough ideas on ones we might get next year. And assume that Light versus Columbo is somewhere in there. We're probably going to get that next year at some point in time. It's a bonus episode, so it's not really going to count for a full-fledged spot. So just assume Light versus Columbo is somewhere in there. I'm not going to try predicting where that episode exactly will be at. But let's just jump right into a bunch of guesses for what I feel like we might get in Death Battle 2025. For the first episode 25, we already know what it is. It's Kratos versus Asura. This, like, Kratos versus Asura was most likely going to be in, like, at least the first 3 months. First 2. And we know this is going to happen either late January or early February. One of the two. We don't know exactly what one yet, and I don't really think I needed to record a thing for Kratos versus Asura, but here we are. We know this is the first episode. I already made a whole prediction video on this, so let's just go on to the next idea. For my first guess of one we don't directly know yet, I'm feeling Luz versus Anne. I think we all kind of know why Lizanne is on these prediction ones for 25. The time to do the matchup has already passed, since it kind of peaked like 2 years ago in popularity. And like 24, can't blame them why they didn't do it then, because Rooster Teeth situation. But this is definitely one I feel like would work as a early season 1. And yeah, it's popular, real popular matchup. Luz and Anne, both Owl House and Amphibia. The huge Disney cartoons of the early 2020s, even though Amphibia came out in 2019, but it's close enough to the 2020s. It's a big matchup. It's definitely one to do sooner than later, and both of their series are finished, and it probably wouldn't, I shouldn't say probably wouldn't take long, but it's a pretty likely one to happen soon, especially, or at least in 2025. And I feel like this is going to be like one of the first ones that we're not really aware of yet, but is likely going to happen. For my first Kickstarter guess that isn't already confirmed, I'm guessing Mahito versus Shigaraki. Both Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia have wrapped up manga-wise. And I think out of all the Kickstarter matchups, this is probably like the quickest to get researched, as the feats for Mahito has already been done, thanks to Gojo Makima, so really they just have to have the abilities to more so look into. And My Hero Aka, I assume there's not much more feats that have come in. I know like there's been more solid light stuff regarding My Hero Academia in speed since Deku Asta. So by a research perspective, this is probably like the one that was closest to already being done. Much like Tanjiro vs. Jonathan and Goku Black vs. Slash, where most of the research were already done with those ones. It's just the scripting process and the animation. And considering like the time we have between these episodes, I feel like this is probably like the next Kickstarter matchup that's going to get an episode. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually planned in 24 or in season 11 and was going to happen fairly early on until the whole, Rooster Teeth going under situation happened. I feel like this is a pretty solid bet as like one of the first matchups of the year, and to be one of the first Kickstarter matches we get outside of Kratos vs. Astro. Another matchup they've talked about, and another one people predicting a lot, Captain America versus Kamen Rider Ichigo. Another like really popular matchup. There is a Captain America movie coming out next year, I believe, or in 25. Though I don't think it's using Cap. I want to say it's like using Falcon or Winter Soldier. I have not been up to date with the MCU. But Captain America, gonna be a big name, even though it still is a giant name. And this is definitely like one of the most requested Kamen Rider matchups, if not the most requested one. And Kamen Rider has been a huge request in recent times. So this is likely one that will happen soon, or at least it's one that I feel like is a good bet to make for 25. Huge matchup. I do think the team has pretty solid interest in it, as well as getting Kamen Rider on the show. So I feel like it's a pretty safe bet to make next year. That's all I got. I don't know why I paused there. So like as of recording this, last night Ben confirmed that the Wile E. Coyote versus Tomcat is going to be the Luis episode. And he did start animating about, I think, a week ago, going by a tweet he made. He did start work on the animation, so it might not be this early. I almost kind of swapped it with the next one, but yeah, Wile E. Coyote vs. Tomcat. We're probably going to get this in 25. It makes the most sense. It's just it's a likely net. No, I shouldn't say likely. It's just outright going to happen next year. And middle of the year, maybe the next one over, because I believe would be in May. But really likely one. We already know it's going to be animated by Luis. So I think middle of the year, maybe a bit later, is probably when we're going to get it. Alright, first matchup that they haven't talked about in a Death Battle Cast, Tournament of Champions, or a Champions Ballot. Eren Yeager versus Ken Kaneki. This is one I think I've been guessing like the last couple years. I think the last like two, like I think since season 9, this has been what I've been guessing. Yeah, I think since season 9. Eren Yeager vs. Ken Kaneki is one I've been guessing for a long time. It's an incredibly popular matchup, and the team is aware of how popular it is, as it often gets put in like in the not ballot banters, but I guess it's often put in ballots. The team knows this is a really popular matchup, and a lot of people do want to see it. And with Attack on Titan ending, I think there is a movie coming out next year, actually, so I don't know. But I feel like this is a highly likely one for next year. It's a really popular matchup. And Attack on Titan is still a really popular series. It makes sense to do it next year. This might have actually been one that was going to happen earlier. Kind of surprised this wasn't unlike the Tournament of Champions or the Kickstarter options, considering its popularity, which kind of makes me want to think it's going to be happening next year. I hope it's going to be happening next year. Real big anime matchup, real popular, so yeah, one of my guesses, and also one of my hopes, because this is like in my top 10. So we're definitely going to have at least one Marvel vs. DC matchup, and I didn't really know of like a super obvious pick. I haven't really been keeping track of the Marvel DC stuff regarding films. I kind of just threw this one on here, but or Moon Knight versus Azrael. I kind of just threw this one on here as a random guess, because, excuse me, there are so many options I think are really likely. Scarecrow Mysterio, Catwoman versus Black Cat, Deadshot versus Bullseye, Swamp Thing versus Man Thing. there's a lot of really likely Marvel DC matchups. I kind of just went with Moon Knight versus Azrael out of a kind of a random guess. I know it's a pretty popular Marvel DC one. There is the Moon Knight show. So, yeah, this is a random guess for a Marvel DC one. We're likely going to have at least one, if not two, next year. And this was just my random guess as to what it may be. Okay, so the matchup that's in the 200th episode, and hopefully will be, since they did say if Ash Yugi needs more time in the oven, they will push that one back to a different slot. Ruby versus Maka. I was kind of torn between putting this and Master Chief versus Doomslayer on here. I went with Ruby Maka because I feel like this may be like the Torian episode that was funded on the Kickstarter, as it makes a lot of sense for him to be working on this. He's done all the other Ruby fights, and I think regarding like him being like one of the, I shouldn't say main 3D animators on RT, but he does have his own little history with Ruby. Kinda, sorta. I feel like this would be like a good one for him to animate. I think he could definitely go hard with this. I would love for that. Like the flips and slow-mo shots would work really well with Torian animating on this thing. But Ruby Maka, I do feel like we might get this next year, if not one of the first 2026 matchups. I kind of put this on 199, though it could not be. It could be a bit later, it could be a bit before, it could, best case scenario, be the 200th episode. This wasn't one of the ones that I kind of put here specifically that I mentioned earlier. But Ruby Maka, I feel like we might be getting that next year. We are getting it. That's been flat out confirmed because of the Kickstarter, but I feel like it's going to be one of the Kickstarter matchups we get next year. The 200th episode, this should be like where it falls in, which is like September. Ash versus Yugi. It's still like a big waste of the 200th. And since Ben did say it might get pushed back if it needs to be worked on more. Hopefully it will be. It'll be a waste of resources regardless, but at least the 200th episode wouldn't be wasted on this fucking shit. But yeah, 200th, this would be where it falls into numerical order, because this is 200th. I got nothing else more. Ash Yugi fucking sucks. So this should be where October falls in, and for my October pick, the Halloween episode, I went with Sans vs. the Judge as my guess, and please, for the love of God, let this happen in 2025. I've been fucking guessing this episode since, like, season fucking 7, maybe? Like, since season 7, this has been, like, one I've been predicting, or might have been since season 9, I don't know. Definitely not 10, but 9 onwards, or 7 onwards, I have been predicting Sans vs. Judge. It is a perfect time to do this. The team knows it is an extremely popular matchup outside of Sans the Skeleton on Death Battle. Sans is also very popular and recognizable. Like, the team knows this is a very popular matchup and people want it. It would have at least gotten second place on the Tournament of Champions not for Krails versus Asura. It might have even won. It might have beaten Wily versus Tom if Krails versus Asura wasn't there. But also, as of me recording this, OFF has been announced to be coming to Switch and Steam in 2025. So, one, people have no excuse not to play it, even though there wasn't an excuse to play it already. It was free on PC and could run on a shitty fucking laptop. There is less of an excuse not to play it, and it might become more recognizable because of this Switch port. Also, Undertale will become 10 years old next year in, I believe, September. So 2025 is just the perfect year to do Sans vs. the Judge. And why I specifically play it in the October slot, as this was one of the specific guesses, it was in the week, the Tournament of Champions week, where all the matchups announced were spooky themed. It was with Skeletor versus Zed, Jack versus the Grinch, fucking Pennywise versus Freddy Krueger. So, yeah, October, it feels like if they do it, when they do it, it would be in October. And this should be where October falls into, assuming they keep with the idea of one episode per month. So this would be the perfect time to do Sands vs. Judge, both like date-wise and also year-wise. Please, for the love of God, let them do Sans Judge. I've been predicting this one. This has been on my fucking prediction list since like season 9 or something. So please, God, let this happen. This one was originally my December pick, and it's also my last Kickstarter matchup. But Kyle Rayner versus Simone the Digger. I know on the Kickstarter it pitched it as Simone the Digger versus White Lantern, but that name doesn't sound as good as Kyle versus Simone, so we're calling it Kyle versus Simone. But this is the last one I feel like will be the Kickstarter ones next year, assuming all of them aren't just next year. So that does kind of save Gru versus Megamind, Aang versus Traveler, Hulk versus Godzilla, and Master Chief versus Doomslayer for 2026. And Chief Slayer almost made it on here. But this was originally going to be my December pick, because I feel like this would be an amazing episode to end the year off with. But I have a different one, and you'll see why I have the other one in that slot. But yeah, we know we're getting it, and I feel like this would be kind of a late game one. Definitely one I want them to take their time on with the animation. This would have also worked for the 200 slot. Got so many better options for the 200s than what we might actually be getting. But yeah, I feel like we might get this next year, as it's a big matchup with the community. So probably we might be getting this next year. And for the last episode of the year, I'm assuming at least, and the December episode, Grinch vs. the Jack. They said before they would like to do like a Christmas themed episode, but because like finales, it would be a bit difficult to properly do. We don't have season finales anymore. So in December, they could totally do a Christmas episode, and Grinch vs. the Jack feels like a pretty easy bet to make for that. You know, considering Nightmare Before Christmas. I know Nightmare Before Christmas is a Halloween movie, but, you know, and also How the Grinch Stole Christmas. This feels like a pretty good pick to make for a Christmas episode. And since, you know, we don't have to follow a season thing anymore, I feel like they might just make this the December episode next year. And I can't blame them for that. They have the opportunity to do that now. So, yeah, that's my December pick. And, like, the last one that was, like, I specifically put it here for a reason. And that's my predictions for 25. Of course, things might change. We might end up getting more episodes than just one a month. I think Ben said it's going to be mostly how they feel. And, like, if they think they could do that without, like, episodes needing to take any dips in quality. We don't know. This is a new era for Death Battle, and they're still trying to figure stuff out. We're still trying to figure stuff out. Everyone's still adjusting to this new change, so I assume for 25, they will just stick to the one a month. While in 26, they might try putting more in at a time. Who knows? But I'm excited to see how 25 goes for Death Battle. It's going to be a big year for multiple reasons, but regarding Death Battle, I am excited to see where it goes. And I hope a lot of these guesses that aren't just already confirmed are going to happen. Because all of these, but like one episode, are matchups I actually do like. It's obvious what one is that I don't like. But I'm excited to see what Death Battle does for 25. I think this was a bit of a shorter one, since there was like a whole 4 episodes I didn't have to talk about. But anyways, yeah, I'm excited to see what Death Battle brings next year, and peace.